All right, now this is the second one. These are both empty, obviously. If these were full, I would not be carrying them. That would be crazy. It would be way too heavy and a little dangerous. But I've got another one coming as well. So we're gonna have 3 hives total. I'm gonna have 2 back here, and I think I'm gonna put one closer up in the garden somewhere where people can see it, and just so it's kind of pretty, because it has a nice copper top. And it's just like a really pretty looking hive, so I really want to keep that visible. And then these will just be kind of tucked back in the woods a little bit. I mean, they still get some sun, but they're going to get a lot of shade too, but that's fine. I don't want to be exposing them to a lot of people walking by. And it's kind of good to have people see the hives so they get scared and don't wander around when I'm not here, but it's always really a good idea just to kind of keep them away, because I got stung quite a few times last year just by being nearby and working on some garden stuff. They would come and attack, and it was just one hive that was more aggressive than the other. One hive wasn't aggressive. It's just like the hive has a personality of its own. It's like the hive mentality, and some of these hives are quite aggressive. And I would just be, working in the square-foot garden, and all of a sudden I'd get hit by a bee. Don't want that to happen too much anymore, so I'm going to back these up a little bit and just get them lined up and tucked away, and that way we've got a little more safety. And it's important to keep them off the ground so the ants and other things can't get a good reach at them. And I'm just kind of adjusting the pollen traps here so we don't catch any pollen. That's the key right now, is you want to let these bees get as much nutrition as possible, and then when the time is right, you can bring down your pollen trap and start to harvest. And then whenever you're ready, you just slide it out here, and then there's your pollen. And taking off the lid. This is the superfluous flow. Anything extra. This is the queen excluder, which keeps Queenie from coming up and laying her eggs in this thing. So this will be pure honey, and this will be eggs. One more. There's no handle on this one. That's a bummer. And then we flip it. I had a feeling this thing was wacky. Not like bees are the most difficult thing in the world. They really know how to take care of themselves, but they do need a little attention. It's a funny thing. It's like in nature, the hives will die and they'll reproduce and they'll spread, but we want to keep the dying to a minimum. We want them to reproduce, of course, but we're trying to keep that death down so we can, and not the death of individual bees per se. That's always going to happen, but the death more of the entire hive as an entity itself. That's the key. And just a few precautions, like a varroa mite trap, and keeping them off the ground, keeping them inspected, making sure everything is healthy, making sure that your queen is laying eggs, and you have more bees in about 6 weeks. This is it. This is the pollen trap, and then it just slides out, and they'll climb through here, and you can raise it or lower it depending on if you want to catch pollen or not. It's a pretty slick operation. I love having bees. Bees are great. Bees really add a lot to a space. It's nice to have the honey, and it's nice to support them, and they definitely fill in the gaps, but I feel like there's still native stuff. But in the massive monocultures, you're not going to see those pollinators. In the forest here, you're going to see the pollinators. But for industrial agriculture, I think it does obviously need bees. Otherwise, there's not going to be these native insects flying around these massive fields of orange trees or blueberries or canola, whatever. This is the key. This is the key, being in the woods. A varied diet, but not such a full-on abundant diet. But the nutrition is so much better. This is so much better. I mean, all this, the bees here are eating wild food. That's a really interesting thing to think about. The bees here are wild food bees. These are bees that are fed on wild food. They're fed on some domesticates too, but the primary source of pollen and nectar is from wild plants. We grow a lot of clover here too, but we're mixing it in with so many wild plants. Ooh. Think of a beehive as an apartment, and you have different stories, different floors. And usually the first floor is for the queen and her eggs, and then you put on your queen excluder, and then the rest is for honey. But I saw someone that actually does 2 stories for the queen and her eggs, and then they put on the super. So I'm gonna try that. Maybe that'll give them a little extra room. They might not swarm so fast. And overall, they might be a far healthier hive with more bees. We'll see, we'll see. I'm trying to keep the swarming to a minimum so we can keep our populations really high. I'd rather just add more levels to this than have to, you know, try and capture a swarm. That's not fun. I did get some swarm lures this year. We'll see how that works. Maybe I can even find some swarms from other hives and bring them here. So this one right here will be 2, and this one right here will be 3. And as the final touch, if you saw the video of the first part of setting up the teepee, when my buddy Luke and I were just kind of hanging out, we were having a little bit of this. This was actually the honeycomb. What I want to do is put this right in front of the 2 hives, and then they can just nibble, 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 yum, 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 and then I don't have to feed them BS corn syrup, GMO corn syrup. If you find out that any beekeeper is using corn syrup, please, please let them know better, and just don't buy it from them. Tell them that you would have bought it from them, but because they're using corn syrup, you just can't. In you know, in this day and age, God, GMO honey, GMO honey. Honey from GMO plants. Really, that's what is happening here. You know, when you're seeing all this, it's just scary. It's scary. So what we've got here is some pure, clean forest honey from Minnesota. Space of Love. Very beautiful. I'm gonna have one last taste before the girls get it all. And then, boom, boom, they'll share these. And then by the end of the day, this is gonna be covered with bees. I feel kind of bad for taking it from them, but I just need one more taste. I've got to drive a good hour to get them today. Primo. Forest honey. No messing around. So this is all gonna, whatever they don't get, it's gonna drip onto the wood, and they're just gonna continue to eat it. It's a cool little stump. Beautiful. Oh, I love this place.